Hello and welcome to another episode of Educational. This is Roy.
This is Terry.
So, our podcast, what we're doing is we chronicle our version, our journey through our aging process, as well as uh, our parents and some of the challenges that we run into with them. But we also want to reach out and we talk to a lot of professionals and people in different areas that can speak to not only the aging but also adult children, caregivers, just trying to navigate this time of life and some things that we can do to make our aging process better. Today, we have an awesome guest we've been looking forward to. Me and Terry are both huge music fans. So today we're going to have Patrick O'Malley. He is a musician and a finger picking guitarist and an online educator. He helps students to go from never having picked up a guitar before to being really accomplished players. He has had over 15,000 students for his online courses that teaches guitar to beginners. Since he has seen a surge in retired people becoming students in recent years, he has researched how and why learning at any age improves brain health and physical health in so many ways. So, Patrick, thank you. And Patrick is coming to us all the way from Paris, France, not Paris, Texas. We'll make that clarification. He's in Paris, France, but he is of Irish descent. So, Patrick, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Great. Well, it's a pleasure to be on. Thank you.
So yeah, like I said, we are huge music fans, and I know there's so much research out there that not only music for I think music for dementia patients can help bring them back to that time period and is very pleasing for them. But there's also that learning aspect, picking up something new and challenge. And it's not, while our audience is aging, I don't want to kind of pigeonhole because music is awesome for kids. There's so much research out there too that kids that are in music programs do much better in the math and sciences and just are more well-rounded. So, let's keep that in mind while we're talking to one group. It's not really, this is a message that anybody can resonate with.
Absolutely. No, I think when we talk about the benefits of music, one big benefit is that you can enjoy it, right? You can enjoy listening to music, you can enjoy playing it, you can enjoy sharing music by playing it with other people or listening to it with other people. And there's a lot of health benefits and brain health benefits. I think maybe as we age, we think about those benefits a bit more. The benefits to our brain, we think about brain health. That's natural, but the benefits are there for no matter what your age. I mean, it's not like only a certain age group will benefit. I think everybody does. And one of the things that we talked about last time was it's very hard to find someone who will say to you, I don't like music. I hate all types of music. Every song I've ever heard, I hate it.
Right.
You just don't get that. Everybody has some affinity for music.
Yeah, music is it's an awesome thing because sometimes that song can come on and you find yourself just starting to have a little movement, even though it's not really conscious. But it's such a good mood lifter. For us, music is a big part of our life when we go exercise or, if you're kind of feeling a little bit slow or a little bit down, you can just pop on some music and it really changes everything. So, yeah, I'm like you. It's hard to, I don't know that I've ever met anybody that just said, music, whatever.
It's just such a sensory emotion. I mean, even like if I'm feeling a little upset or getting angry, I can put on some screaming music, just get it out of my system. I mean, just every emotion it helps across the board.
Absolutely. There's so many different types of music, and there's so many different ways people listen to music. Like you said, for exercise, for going on a walk. I listen to music, different types of music. If I'm working, I'll put on something, maybe it could be Beethoven or Mozart or something, but we have music accompanying us for a lot of our lives. And you've basically said it there. I mean, music can help you feel better. It can.
It does, and it brings back memory. Just we were talking about earlier. It just brings back a certain time in your life, and it's just very it is an emotional thing. It's just all the way around. It just helps with so many things.
Yeah, I guess that's why the dementia patients, because I think about myself is that, it does, when you hear a song from the olden days, you could think, oh, I remember that riding, we're riding in a car down this particular street, and it just puts you right back into that time frame. But there's so many instruments out there too. That's the other thing is, I think we're going to speak mainly to the guitar today, but if guitar is not your thing, I don't even know how many instruments are out there, but there's tons of them, that you can take up something that will bring you joy for sure.
Yeah, I don't think it matters which instrument you play.
No.
If you're learning any instrument of any kind, or you're playing it, generally you're either in one of two modes when you play an instrument. You're either really honed in on practice and trying to master something, or you can just be playing something because you're enjoying playing something that maybe with people or maybe on your own, and you're just enjoying you're relaxing. And in both contexts, it is amazing for your health and well-being and emotional state. It doesn't matter whether it's piano or guitar. And people often ask me, oh, what instrument should I learn? And my answer is, if you've ever dreamt of playing an instrument, like, oh, I've always wanted to play the cello, for example, that's the one to learn, because you've always had that inside you. You've always had this kind of subconscious thought, I'd love to be a player of this instrument. That means that if you start learning it, it's a real passion for you. So always look inside and think to yourself, oh, what instrument would I have thought about in the past, going, oh, saxophone, I'd love to play saxophone. Oh, the flute, I'd love to play the flute. Usually there's a couple of instruments that we have an affinity for. So if you're thinking about which one to play, look inside, see what's there.
So I had always heard, well, for my youngest daughter, she always wanted to play the guitar, and then I was told and did a little research, and was told that she should start with piano so everything else will be easier. That's not the case.
Well, the piano is often well regarded as a beginning instrument, because the keyboard of black and white notes, it does map very well to music theory, as it were. But if your daughter really wants to play guitar, like really, and you put one into her lap, before you know it, she's going to be playing that goddamn guitar. And if you give her a piano, she might be like, yeah, I'm bored now. So I think if you feel a passion for something, it's always good to do things that excite you. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people do learn on piano because it's like I said, it is a good
baseline.
Yeah, it's a good, particularly if you want to learn like classical music, or if you intend to learn a lot of instruments, or a piano is a great starter instrument. But again, if someone said to me, I am burning inside to learn the drums, I would say, come on, let's go with that. That'll work out for you.
Yeah.
In no time you're going to be good at that. Yeah. But piano is a great instrument. I think one of the things to bear in mind when you're choosing an instrument is, if you are suffering from hearing loss, then you may want to be quite deliberate in what you choose. It's a slightly side topic, so I won't go too deeply down the hearing loss route. But ultimately, music is different to speech. So if you've got a hearing aid that works okay for speech, it may or may not work as well for music. And musicians tend to have a kind of more refined, expensive cochlear implant that they use, and they often go to an audiologist to get it tuned just right for their instrument. Now, this, of course, I'm talking a little bit more about professional musicians here and what's up. But if you were suffering hearing loss, something like a cello or violin would be not a great choice, because there's so much intonation in it, and And you're often better off with something like a bass or a guitar that you can actually feel the vibrations of. You can actually have it against you and feel that. But for most people, I think whatever stokes your passion is a great choice. And any musical instrument will give you incredible benefits. So I think it's always important to pick one that you know you like.
Yeah. So how did you get into music? Did you play from from a child, or did you want to be in a band when you were a teenager? Or how did that all come about?
Well, it's a funny story because I asked my mother to buy me a guitar, and she was like, no. And I was like, oh, come on. She's like, no. And eventually, I think it was like, I don't know, it was almost a year later, I found one in a house we were emptying out and put strings on it. And I, you know, this is why I kind of mentioned the story about whatever you're passionate about. Once I got hold of it, I played all day and all night. And so I learned when I started learning when I was 16. And yeah, when I think about that decision to pick up an instrument and learn it, I'm so grateful I did, because now if I come home from work, I've got half an hour and I play guitar. I'm so grateful for that time. You know, it's like meditating. While I'm playing, I'm not thinking about paying the electricity bill, or will my neighbor be angry at me because I forgot to do X, or, has the payment come out of my bank account? When I'm playing an instrument, I'm kind of still and taking a break from the world and able to just, refresh and recharge. So I'm really grateful back then when I was 16 that I did actually pick it up and learn it, because it's been a great life companion for me.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is it's typically a skill that is lifelong. I mean, I know if you have some disabilities older in life, you may not be able to, but for the most part, it's something that you can do well into your aging process and still gain a lot of joy. And I think the other thing is give joy to people around you. There's a lot of places that you can share your music, no matter what level you're at, and people just enjoy hearing somebody else play or sing, or a combination of both.
Absolutely. I send out a kind of newsletter a couple of times a month, and I always ask, hey, feel free to reply and tell me what kind of music you're listening to or playing. One of my respondents 2 weeks ago was Clayton. He said, I'm a fit and happy 84-year-old, and I want to learn more jazz and gypsy. And it's like, this was perfectly normal. He was learning guitar, and he has certain types of music he likes. And yeah, but it's perfectly, it's perfectly normal, because, and I think we spoke about this before, is that people are now a little bit more cognizant of the fact that, maybe when they're in their late 50s, they're going to retire soon, and they want to put some stuff in there now that's gonna be a delightful way for them to use their time productively and expressively when they have some more time.
Right.
Over the COVID period in particular, as I was selling courses online, and people are emailing me back when I send them an email from a mailing list. So many people are retired or recovering from injury. That's what kind of prompted me to look into the health benefits a bit more. But I was just amazed at how the span of age of my students was basically everybody. And I think that's a great thing.
And what are the age? What is your age span? I mean, just all across the board?
All across the board. I think music tends to be tough to teach before age of 7. And then teaching a child music requires a kind of specialist knowledge. I think other people can probably do that better than me. But I think once you turn, let's say 14 or 15 or whatever age, you can self-teach, or pick up a course online now for a few dollars. And, there's really no obstacles with the internet. Before the internet, maybe you needed to find a guitar teacher or buy a book. Now there's just so many wonderful resources out there. I would say the ages of my students tends to go from anywhere above 14 up to 80s even.
Oh, wow.
And do you have quite a few in the older bracket?
Yeah, I think so. I really do think so. I don't have exact numbers, but certainly
Yeah,
at least half my emails come from people, responses come from retired people, saying that, you know, this is my situation. I'm learning guitar for this reason. I've always wanted to, or when I visit my friends, they play guitar or they play some instrument, and we want to be able to play music together. It's, you know, it's very clear for them.
Have you got have you got a couple good stories from some of your older clients?
I think one of the things that that I get sometimes is people will email me back saying, well, you know, Patrick, thanks for everything, but you know, what you don't understand is that I've got a very fat finger or a very thin finger, a very big hand, a very small hand, and it's like it, trust me, of all the problems that you have or I have, finger and hand size is not going to determine whether you're a good musician or not. Um, it's just not important. It shouldn't disqualify you, whatever your hand size. So I get messages like that sometimes, and I think I remember an email from someone who was recovering from injury. They were in a car crash, um, and this was just a way for them to easily get back into the real world. They were able to pick up something and you know, work on it. And I really enjoyed that because I felt like you know, whatever your context, I don't think there's a person out there who isn't healthier mentally if they're learning something. If I'm learning something next week, I'm going to be interested in life and enthusiastic. And if I'm learning absolutely nothing, like in my job, for example, if I were to just be doing the same old repeat thing, there's no learning in it, how can I be as happy as someone who's in another job? You know, they're learning things all the time. So I equate learning and the state of learning, being learning, to happiness. I think we're all happy when we're learning, and I you know, I think
Yeah.
that's a good enough reason.
Yeah, and it's a feeling of accomplishment. And the other thing I can speak to myself is the managing expectations. That, you know, I want to go out and you know, a few years ago I bought a guitar and I thought, I'm going to try to take some lessons, and then just didn't find the time. But I wanted to pick it up, and I wanted to be Craig Ross, you know, from the
Right
moment,
away.
yeah, from the moment I picked it up and put my pick on there. It's like, you know, and I think I guess everybody's in their own place, but also we just need to have patience. Where, you know, it's a process that you just have to work at, and
Yeah.
takes a lot of practice.
It does take a lot of practice. I did end up taking my daughter eventually. She played piano and then she started taking guitar lessons too. And she still to this day plays the guitar, and it's very helpful to her. Um, and I ended up taking guitar lessons with her or at the same place. And I didn't put the practice time in. I just was frustrated because I wanted to be able to do it right away. I wanted to be Nancy, Ann and Nancy Wilson, you know.
Yeah,
It
we all.
wasn't working. I'm like,
Oh, that's so. This is a very interesting topic as well, actually, because one of the things that one of the common misconceptions that people have, just in terms of learning guitar, is that you start off by learning the guitar chords, you know, G and C and D and E, but actually, there's a lot of small skills that goes into playing a G chord well. You know, you've got to strum those notes. Sometimes you got to miss a string. You don't want to hit it too loud or too soft. You want to brush across the strings evenly, and then you want to play a rhythm potentially, and you want to change this chord, and you need to make sure that all the fingers are down right, and when you change that, you know, everything works. You don't have any scratchy sounds. There's actually a lot of skills in there. So I actually think guitar isn't necessarily taught the best way these days. I think that this is why I started actually doing all my courses online, is that when you start finger picking, I don't know if you know any of the finger pickers like Merle Travis or Chet Atkins, that kind of style. Actually, what you can do is you can say to somebody, okay, we're just gonna play a G chord, and for the rest of our hour, our first hour of guitar playing, we're just gonna finger pick it, right? So that hand just stays there for the hour. And what actually happens is that students get a much better sense of musical reward. They actually feel like they're musical straight away. So you can kind of reduce the time it takes for them to go from beginning into some sort of mastery or some sort of reward. And that's something that that I've found has worked really well for me in the past.
Okay. I think, I mean, when I would take, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that sometimes when we sit down to take on a project, or we sit down to learn something, often we just need to be aware that part of sticking with it, the stickability, is that we get some reward as a student in those early days, right? So if you're learning anything tomorrow, Spanish, for example, and within the first hour of Spanish, you're able to, let's say, call the restaurant and order something, right? That would be a reward for you, you know, and that helps keep you on the horse. That helps keep you enthusiastic. An early win can be great. And so this is one of the things that that I do with my students. I kind of get them to a place where very early on, they have that kind of sense of musical reward. And actually, I'll illustrate this for you. Just bear with me a second.
Oh,
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yay, I was hoping.
So the traditional way of learning an instrument, just have to find a way for this. We'll do it this way. We'll go above. The traditional way of learning an instrument on guitar would be you learn your chords, you play your C to G, you play your and you change these chords. I don't know if you can actually see, but I guess we're on a podcast anyway, so nobody can see anything. But
there you go. Yeah.
You got these chords, and you're changing between them. And yeah, I get my students to always just play one chord and just start picking the individual notes. So they would be like, all in one chord. And what you find is that people will start with that, and then they kind of start playing around for themselves, you know, and they start noodling around and experimenting, and they come up with something that they like, you know. They're like, oh, okay, so I can be like, so that's just, you know, one chord. So I think one of the things that we need to think about is that it's never too late to learn. We always just need to find a way of learning where we can get some reward early in the process. We can find a stickability, and we can not mentally convince ourselves that this is too hard for us, you know. Oh, other people can play guitar. They can be great at guitar, but, you know, not me. You know, I've got the fat fingers. So that's something I think that I've always tried with students, just to identify, hey, what's the reason you're playing guitar? Oh, I want to play with my friends every Christmas. Great. And what would be exciting for you to play? Oh, I've always liked this song. Great. And maybe in the first hour we can do something that's fun together. And with those three elements, you usually find, you talk to the person a year later, they're still playing guitar.
So you need to find a way to have it customized to your learning ability and what your goal is for learning to play.
Yeah, exactly. Now, obviously, when I've got an online course, I can't actually talk to the student, but I would just ask those questions kind of during the start of the course. I would say, hey, think about why you like to play guitar. There's got to be a reason. Write it down. Write that down on a piece of paper, and think about a song you'd love to play. Right? If you had a magic wand, great. Write it down. Get a piece of paper, and then after that, you know, my goal will be, okay, within the first hour of you playing, can you get some sort of kick out of it? Can you actually do something that's fun, that you feel is musical and like you've made a bit of progress?
Yeah, I like that. Being able to feel like you've made some accomplishments at the end of, you know, some reasonable time period, instead of it being months or years away. Because that's what you think about, is that, you know, I'm going to start with that one chord, and then we'll have to do this and do that, and it may be months before I can string something together. So I like that methodology. But what kind of time commitments, realistically, I'm not talking about to be a show musician necessarily, but just for, you know, the normal individual that wants to pick around on the guitar. What kind of time commitments are we talking about? Number one, lessons per week and that length of time, but also how much time would we devote to practicing on a daily basis?
So what I say to people is you should practice 15 minutes a day, and then you put down your guitar, okay, and you maybe get a glass of water, right? So now that's the 15 minutes over. A lot of people are like really at that 15-minute mark. They're like, they're into it. They want to keep playing. So I'm like, great, pick it up again. But do your 15 minutes. And if you do that, you'll be you know, able to play guitar to what another person would consider pleasant within 60 days. Okay.
Okay.
But we're talking about 15 minutes a day. And of course you can miss a day.
That's not a
right?
huge commitment.
Everybody misses a day, of course, right? It's not a huge time commitment. We often kind of forget the compound interest of doing something small, but regularly so, right? If you did anything for 15 minutes a day, I mean, every day, by the end of a year, you're going to be, you know, pretty competent on some level with it. But 15 minutes a day is very important for music, I think, because we have it wired into our brains. So by not taking a break, or by even if we said you played 5 days a week, 15 minutes, that would still be fine, of course. But the kind of, I suppose, the culmination of doing so, yeah, it very quickly you get to see progress. So my courses are structured that way. I say, look, play for 15 minutes, or go through this lesson, which takes a few minutes, and then practice this for 15 minutes. That's your practice thing. And the next day, you know, you can decide, okay, I'm happy or I'm not.
Yeah.
So I try and structure it like that. But again, if you were to pick up another instrument, for example, the same advice would hold. Try and play 15 minutes a day, and you'll see not only will you make progress, but also you will tend to look forward to that 15 minutes. Be one of your favorite parts of the day, because now, you know, again, you have to worry about the bills. Is your neighbor upset at you? You know, you've got that little bit of time for yourself to focus on learning. Yeah.
I think that, and there's a good book, I'm going to put a plug in, kind of off topic, but it's called The Slat Edge. And it's, the author talks about this compounding effect. You know, we think about compounding effect in money, but we also need to think about compounding effect of our actions and our thoughts. Is that, you know, if you were to pick up a guitar and play for 15 minutes and not pick it up for another month, you may be better than you may be better than the guy that's never picked it up. But if you pick that up and do it for 15 minutes every day, you know, at the end of 30, 60 days, you're going to see enormous progress.
And being pleasant sounding. I like the way you put that. Yeah. Pleasant sounding to others. That's perfect right there. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it also, you know, we try to make things that are good for us become a habit. So, for example, if you have a daily routine, like you get up, you have a shower, you brush your teeth, like that would be the perfect time, just for example, to play guitar, because you've got these other habits and you stack another one onto it. So you're going to brush your teeth every morning, and then after that, you know what comes next. It could be playing your guitar. Of course, in the morning might not work for you. It might be that you come home at night, and you've got some things that you do. But let's say you eat your dinner at night, and it might be right. As soon as I put my bowl in the sink, I pick up that guitar. So there's things you can do to kind of make a habit stick. But ultimately then, after, let's say 3 weeks, those habits kind of just have their own velocity, and they just stick. And once you get to a certain level of competence, it's not a habit anymore. You don't have to do it. You know, you enjoy doing it. And yeah, I guess, you know, we initially kind of spoke about some of the health benefits, and I think I could share some of those as well if you're interested to hear.
Yes, please.
Some of those, yeah. So, like I said, I started researching this because of the amount of people who were reaching out to me, asking this question, and also, you know, who were retired and wanting to talk to me about it. But I looked at studies that have been done. So, you know, medical scientific studies, double-blind, proper science in medical journals, and I found the following results. So and no surprise, by the way, these things will not surprise you. So a study of patients suffering from depression in 2011 noticed that those who engaged in playing music suffered lower levels of depression and anxiety than those who didn't. And this kind of makes sense to me, because if I'm really struggling with a day or even just a topic in my head, if I play guitar for half an hour, that just gives me space. And when I come back, I'm just better able to get perspective. So this one resonates with me, that, just to be able to switch off for a while, I think works. But improved mood and reduce depression, reduce anxiety is one benefit. Another, I found a 2014 study that found that playing an instrument activates the same brain pathways as word generation and language tasks, meaning that even a small musical training session results in cognitive and verbal benefits. And also intuitively for me, this is kind of not a normal result, because if you can express yourself musically, then does it extend that you will be able to express yourself verbally a little bit better too? I mean, I think so. But the science holds this true. Maybe the most interesting one I found was this concept of brain plasticity or neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to form new connections or rewire itself, if you will. So if we didn't have neuroplasticity or this ability, the brain would not be able to recover from an injury, for example, a stroke. And so it's really important to brain health. And I found a 2013 study that musicians had more gray matter than non-musicians. Or if you want to put it in a different way, we see better brain plasticity from people who are training for music than people who don't. And that's in younger brains and older brains. So basically, playing music is like an insurance policy, right? If you ever in the future need to recover from a stroke or a brain injury, then a history of playing music could be a helpful factor in your recovery, which I think is just an incredible finding. And then the last one I'll throw into the mix is the ability of the brain to multitask. And you know how it works, right? You're concentrating on several things, and someone throws one more at you, that fifth thing, and then you get stressed out. Well, when you're hungry and without your glasses and listening to the car alarm going off and something else, someone asks us an innocent question and we snap, So the ability to process multi-sensory information or multitask, again, proven to be much, much better for people who play a musical instrument than those who do not. So there's lots of kind of cool scientific studies. And yeah, I think the thing about them is that when I think about them, they all kind of seem to ring true to me. They seem kind of like they're just logically the case.
Yeah, no, for sure. And coordination, that's what I think about coordination, because trying to make my left hand do one thing and my right hand do something else, trying to think about that logically. But I'm sure after you practice it, it starts to become a lot more natural. But yeah, those are amazing health benefits. And just the, even like we talked earlier, the boost in mood and taking you back to places. And, a lot of songs have that happy ring. They always seem to take us back to a happy place, not to a darker place. So that's always good too.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I'm sad, music is like a companion, and if I'm happy, it's like it's just me that's happy. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Like if I'm in the car and a great song comes on, I'm just so thrilled. And if I'm sad or something, it's like music is there helping me out. Hey, are you okay, buddy? Yeah, I'm fine. But yeah, you're right. I think you're right. There's all that scientific stuff, and it's important literature, but also just the kind of feeling of having a hobby, of working on self-mastery, on learning something, and on creating something. I think it's just amazing for our mood and amazing for our sense of self.
I was gonna say, it did get me out of a ticket one day. I was driving. I had a good song, and I was driving a little too fast, and I got pulled over. And the policeman said, "Where are you going to in such a hurry?" I said, "Well, it's a beautiful day, and there was a really good song when I had turned up." He said, "What was it?" told him what it was. He's like, all right, well, just trying to slow it down.
I'm the total opposite.
He's like, yeah,
I was
yeah.
listening to Michael Jackson, and I sped up, and no, I got slapped.
Yeah, when the policeman stops you, you got to think, what song does this guy really like?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I mean, if I can guess that, and I tell him that's what caused this, he'll get it. He'll let me off. But it's universal. That's the great thing about music, is that if you look at the brain, you can tell by which parts of the brain are lighting up when they attach centers to you, which notes are being played. So if you can actually tell, if you're looking at a map of someone's electrodes on the brain, depending on which you're firing, you can actually tell what melody was being played. Like, do 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 do, which I think is just incredible. There's a book called "This Is Your Brain on Music," which I can't remember the author, but it's an excellent description of how the brain relates to music. But it's just hardwired into us. So there's a lot of knowledge inside us genetically, and if you walk down the street, when you walk, you're in perfect time. Left foot, right foot, left foot. That is perfect timing, and it's just something inside of us that I think is rewarding for us as people, as emotional characters to bring out.
I watch for like if I'm driving somewhere, I watch for flashing lights to hit with the beat of my music. I'll sit there, I'll change stations and try to make it all work. So everything's cohesive. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, driving and music goes well together. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
It just works.
And not, I think there's even, it's at the opposite end of our age spectrum we're talking about, but there's actually been evidence that fetuses in the womb are influenced by whatever music that the parents are playing at that time as well.
Yeah, there's some great studies on this, whereby kids who are played a certain type of music, when they're 3 or 4, they're like, I love this song. And it's like, oh, that's actually what we played you when you were in the womb. It's kind of crazy. And and I think there's definite benefits to putting the headphones on the tummy if you're pregnant. Maybe not heavy metal, maybe something more Bach or Beethoven. But
exactly.
But it's a universal thing, and it's in all of us, which is, I think, quite appeals to us.
So let's talk for a minute about the delivery of instruction now. There was, we typically think of having to go somewhere to take a lesson, or somebody coming into our home to take a lesson. But now with the, with Zoom and all these other electronic and the internet, just like we're talking to you from Texas to France, that talk to us just a little bit about the delivery of instruction electronically or distance learning.
Sure, I will. I'll do that. It's a pity you're not in Paris, Texas, and I'm, because Paris, Texas to Paris, France would be cool. But okay.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the value of a one-to-one in-person lesson with a good teacher can't be underestimated. So, you definitely have the best outcome from having an in-person lesson, but right now in many parts of the world, that's just not possible. Okay, so forget about it. And also, people have different budgets, and some people just want to come home from work and they've got 20 minutes. They don't want to book a lesson with another person.
Right.
But I always say to my students, you can learn, you can be self-taught, you can learn online. There's lots of different ways. But maybe then once you get to the 6-month mark or 1 year mark, if you could find a local teacher, even a couple of lessons would be good. They might correct a few things. So I think, the in person is usually the best way for anything. But with the, I guess with the internet, we've just seen more and more online learning in general. And I think what's been really great is that the quality of that has gone up and up and up. The early lessons online mightn't have been so hot, but these days you can get some just incredible resources online, and you can get lots of material for free. You can Google, or you can YouTube, or you can, there's just so much content out there. One of the things that you might want to consider, though, is whether you want to just be randomly searching the internet, or whether you want a kind of a structured learning format, you know, because it's good to have a way to work through things logically to get to an endpoint, which you will get if you buy any course of any kind online. That I see that sometimes with students, they just browse random lessons on YouTube or Google, and they kind of end up not really going anywhere. But there's excellent courses out there. I think mine are pretty good as well. And yeah, what we see with online learning now is just that it needs to be created in such a way that it leaves nobody behind, because people are at different levels. So I might give both you guys, you know, a lesson, and one of you could pick it up quickly, and the other could be, you know, struggling with it, or, you know, not understood what did I mean here, or so that's the challenge when you're creating online education. You have to make sure that you're leaving nobody behind, and when you explain something, that you start the next session by going, hey, you know, if you found that hard, here's a few things to remedy, or here's a few things you can try, or go back and revise this part. And so you're really kind of trying to empathize with somebody that might be sitting in a part of the world finding this not as easy as somebody else. And you want to make sure that you're not assuming any previous levels of knowledge, you know, that, hey, I'm going to refer to these terminologies. Oh, well, I don't know what that means. So good online education, I think, is there. It's out there. I mean, we see a lot of people learning online, and yeah, it's very effective. Like, I think now I've got over 20,000 students at this stage.
Wow.
Courses online.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's amazing to see it. I think I've got something like 1,200 reviews, and people just sending me back messages of you know, how they've succeeded, which is just so nice to read. But of course, I haven't done it, right? They're the person who you know, was brave and picked up an instrument and put some time in. But yeah, it's definitely common for people to learn an instrument just by, you know, finding some stuff online that's good quality and that works.
Yeah, and I think too, also finding like you said, that structure. You know, sometimes that randomness can really lead us to nowhere but disappointment. And so, you know, finding somebody you resonate with, finding that structure that's going to start where you are and take you to where you want to go. Very, very important.
Yep, definitely. I mean, the same is true for anything, but it's easier with beginners. If someone's a complete beginner, then it's quite easy, because you assume nothing and you teach from zero, and that works quite well. That's why I actually created a kind of beginner, intermediate, advanced course, because I was able to say, okay, well, intermediate is going to be too hard for me to quantify. It just could mean anything. So if someone bought one of those and they were like, oh, it's too hard, I'd be like, okay, well, you clearly need the beginner course then. And vice versa. If they bought the beginner and they're like, this is too easy, I'd be like, okay, well, no problem. I'll swap you for the intermediate one if you want, or give you a refund if you want. But the point is that for complete beginners, I think there's something really ideal about learning online, because you can just go in and say, right, this I'm coming to the table with no knowledge, and it's quite easy then for an instructor to go, okay, great. Well, in that case, we start here, and this is the path we take. But yeah, it's a big topic now. I mean, there's a lot of people in different parts of the world, India, Pakistan, wherever, that are doing degrees online for free. You know, the massive online open courses.
Wow.
In marketing or machine learning. I know Harvard has some and Stanford has some. You don't get a degree, but you can do all of that education and get really incredible skills. The challenge, if you're doing that, is to maybe find somebody that you can prevent the loneliness a bit. So if you've got a friend who plays guitar a bit, you know, it'd be great to say, hey, once a month, if you could, you know, tune into me or do a call. That's kind of cool. Right. But there's a changing world out there, and I think we're not going to depend on universities to teach us everything from now on. Don't get me wrong, we'll always have universities. They're very important to our society, but not everybody is going to be learning from that place. A lot of people are going to be learning in more democratized ways, and I think it's a very positive thing. You know, I see a lot of people learning from a lot of different sources.
Yep. No, that's a good thing. So tell us, before we wrap up here, so who are some of your favorite musicians? Who are some people that you either emulate or look up to?
It's a hard
Well,
question.
yeah, so my favorite musicians would probably be guitar players. I have a big affinity for the fingerpicking guitar players. Merle Travis and Chet Atkins are big favorites of mine. Don Ross is another finger style guitarist who I admire greatly. I love Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page as musicians as well. I mean, those are big. Yeah, Eric Clapton is great. But again, I listened to so many, types of music that it's hard. My favorite singer-songwriter is probably, I don't know, I like Ray LaMontagne, I like Neil Young. There's just so many musicians that I admire. There's hundreds of them. And if you threw out a name, I'd be like, yeah, I love that. I love this.
Yeah.
So, it's very hard to say, but, and Chopin, I've gotten into Chopin recently because my wife loves the opera. I'm not the biggest opera lover, but I've gotten more into Chopin recently because she's got CDs of his on, and I find him to be incredible to fall asleep to or work to. So, I mean, there's just so many different types of music.
Yeah.
But,
I love opera. I mean, I listen to a lot of genres, but I just get something out of all of them. I didn't think that I used to like country, and here I am in Texas, which is where they play a lot of it. But my dad, Slat Edge, was one of his favorites, and he played the guitar, and we would sit around, and he would play Johnny Cash. He'd sing the melody, of course, and we'd be background singers, and it was like, I don't know why. Johnny Cash I always liked, but just some of the other Slim Whitman and Chet Atkins, Charlie Pride, all of that, I just kind of attached it to just the country genre, and just across the board. And then the older I get, the more I find myself, I'm just like, oh, Patsy Cline. I just, it's so emotional, just all of it.
It is. I mean, I think country gets a bad rap sometimes because people have a kind of certain kind of comedy image of a certain type of country.
Yes.
Like kind of,
Hee-haw, the TV
hee-haw
show.
kind of stuff. But like, if you think about Townes Van Sant and John Prine and some, Chris Christopherson and Johnny Cash, you've got some, incredible music there that is a mix of, kind of almost pop, folk. Sure, it's country, but it's basically a lot of these music types we have today are kind of based on their antecedents. Call it the blues, call it rock, call it whatever. So there's a kind of big bubbling pot of influences that goes into most musics, and that's what makes it interesting, I think. And I think I listen to everything, but my favorite music is probably on the guitar.
Interesting. You brought up Townes Van Sant. We'll claim him as a Fort Worth boy. His family has very deep roots here, and from settling Fort Worth, there used to, not far from where we live, there actually used to be the Van Sant, the house where I guess they settled this farm back in the 1800s. So interesting that he comes up because he was such a great singer-songwriter.
Absolutely, underrated. But
yes.
But those who know music know him well,
Yeah.
You should definitely claim him. Yeah, I would if I could.
Yeah.
Townes Ozant, I'd probably claim him.
Right. All right, Patrick. Well, thank you so much. Oh.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say one thing, which is that I've put a page on my website which has got some of these, a link to some of these studies, my mailing list, and a 50% discount if anybody wants to go and do my beginner course. So that's something you can find at learnfingerpicking.com/podcast. If anybody wants to go there, they can do so. Yeah, and we've got that page that we will put in the show notes as well. But I wanted you to be sure and get your website out, and how people can reach out and get a hold of you. So that's great. Yeah, y'all reach out, and
I guess you have the lessons that are all kind of lined out there. You can go
Mhm.
through and take a look at it. And then also, if you'll go through this link, Patrick's been generous enough to offer a discount to our listeners. So we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. And whether it's guitar or any other instrument, definitely the message I would give is that it's never too late,
Okay.
and the benefits are many.
Yes.
I might even have to follow up with you on whether you've picked it back up.
Okay. Yeah. I may have to.
Come on now, you need some accountability here.
I know, right? I may
Yeah.
need to pick that up.
That's what it's all about.
All right. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for your time. It's been a
was a
pleasure
pleasure.
speaking with you, and we hope to get you back on here again. Go do a second version. This is such an important topic, and I think the pandemic has kind of shined a light on it. But I think even after we get back to some kind of normalcy, that we do need to pick this back up, and people should be cognizant about all the benefits of, we want to eat right, we want to exercise, but we could also, play some musical instruments to help our future health as well. So, all right.
Perfect.
Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Educational. I'm Roy. You can find us at www.educational.com. And we will put up in the show notes, we'll have the links to Patrick's pages as well as that discount page. And we are on all the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Spotify, as well as all social media. So until next time, y'all take care of yourself.